Hey, it is a huge honor. I'm at the Greater New York Dental Meeting in Manhattan, and I'm not blowing smoke. This is one of the coolest, smartest guys I've ever known in dentistry. I've always said, you and another one is Jim Glidewell. I've always called you guys like the Herb Kelleher of dentistry, because when I got into dentistry, it just seems like all the companies wanted to make the most expensive, complicated way to do anything. And whenever, my dad always said, God gave you a brain and two eyes, and you keep one eye on your customer and one eye on cost. And he gave you a 3-pound brain to figure out how to drive down costs so your customer has the freedom to afford what he has. And you take people like my mom and her 3 brothers, not one of them had one tooth left when they got out of high school in Parsons, Kansas, because that's how it was back then. You went to the dentist, and the only thing they could afford was to pull it. And I've always had the most respect for people who use their brain to squeeze down the cost, and you did it first with diodes.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
you know, when I
Picasso.
got to school in '87, a YAG laser was $50,000. And what did you sell them for?
Well, we did the first Picassos came out about $3,500. You know, it just.
And how did you squeeze all that cost out? I mean, you're a Hoosier from Indiana. How the hell did a Hoosier from Indiana?
I don't know how Hoosiers can do anything.
How did you do it though? I mean, well, let me say this: when you first got into diodes, what was the average price of a diode?
About $12,000.
Yeah. So how did you squeeze 75% of the cost out of a laser? How did you do that?
Well, the first thing I did before I even designed a laser was listening to what dentists really wanted. They wanted a soft tissue laser that didn't break the bank. They knew they were going to use it day in, day out, but quite frankly, at those high price points, it made it a niche product. So the first thing was listening to dentists say, we want it, but it's got to be more affordable. And then it was just, I think maybe my brain works a little bit differently. It was really pretty easy to look at. The current technology was expensive, Howard, because there were so many parts to it. There was so much wiring. This stuff was developed with low manufacturing volumes in mind. So think about hundreds of parts inside of these boxes that took a lot of labor, cost to put them together. And you go, gee, we can fix this. Look at automobiles. Look what you can get for $12,000. You can buy a whole freaking car. And that's only because they mass produce them, right? So why not take the same approach with high technology? It was a real leap of faith for me to say, you know what? I'm going to buy the parts to make this thing work in huge volumes. And with that volume pricing I got, I was able to bring down the cost of the materials to put them together. And of course, the design I did with the Picasso was to make it very modular. So instead of hundreds of parts, if you were to take one apart, you'll see just a few. And it's quick disconnects. There's almost no labor. But it was really listening to what people wanted and taking a leap of faith that you can really build a better mousetrap. And that's all it is. And clinically, it does the same thing.
And what year did you come out with that?
The first Picasso came out in 2009, early 2009.
And most people don't know this, but I was the absolute first patient Alan had for laser hair removal. He took that Picasso and seared off every head I had. And thank you for that. And now you've done it again with hard tissue. So Picasso was a soft tissue laser. What kind of laser is that?
The Picasso is a diode.
Diode laser.
Yeah, it's
which means electrical. An electrical.
Yeah. I mean, there's no moving parts in it. Very inexpensive to manufacture.
And now,
number one selling laser in the world. 100 countries. Can you believe this? The first advertising I did was with you, June of 2009. Here we are, number one laser company in the world, over 100 countries. Pretty much everybody else is out of the business. God bless them. It doesn't. I don't shed a tear, but it's. Can you believe this? In 6 years? I mean, it's been an amazing ride.
And you came and advertised us with my good buddy Pete Janicki. He was your buddy, right?
He sure was.
He was your dental town buddy.
Everybody loved Pete.
Before he broke off, and now he's with, what's the Gold Dust Dental Lab with his wife Jen, doing lectures with all kinds of famous townies. This guy here, I think, is anyway, lots of them. So now you did it with
hard tissue,
erbium lag. So a lot of guys, when I talk to guys later, they get confused between diode, YAG. So erbium would be the crystal that makes the laser light?
Yeah, it sure is. It's, lasers, it's all about what wavelength the laser fires at. So erbiums, this one's at 2940. That's nanometers. That's a wavelength. Our Picasso's at 810. So at this wavelength, the lasers love water. So if we introduce a little bit of water spray with the laser, it makes the laser capable of hard tissue. And when I say hard tissue, Howard, I mean cavity preps. I mean bone. I mean things that a diode is simply not capable of, these lasers are. Let me tell you what they can't do. They can't cut through old amalgams. They can't cut through ceramics. They will cut through composites, but they don't operate well on metal. So I don't want anybody to get confused. Picasso is strictly soft tissue. The new Light Touch is for cavity preparations, bone, and they do work well on certain soft tissue procedures.
So this laser is 50 grand.
50. I know it sounds like a lot, but quite frankly, It's nearly half of the cost of other hard tissue lasers out there on the market.
Are you able to say their names, or is that just not polite?
Well, I think there's a couple of key players.
But again, you're half the price. But I want to get to specifics. No one's going to pay 50 grand. They're going to lease it. Is that lease going to be? I mean, what percent just give you 50 grand? I mean, reality, because these guys are alone. My motto is, you're all alone. No one practices alone with Dental Town. What percent just hand you 50 versus lease it?
Well, if they do hand me 50, I'd hand it right back to them and say, take a business class from Howard Farran and actually take the 50, invest it, and lease the stuff, because honestly, it's going to run you $30, $40 a day, and then you have a solid return on investment if you take it on a lease. Why not take that cash and put it towards something else?
That'll raise your return on equity.
Yes, of course.
But on your standard lease, who are you working with? Are they usually doing 3-year leases, 4-year leases?
5 years, pretty typical.
60 a month. And what would be the payment?
It's about $1,000 a month.
Okay, $1,000 a month. So can I tell you why this excites me personally? Is these dentists keep doing sealants, these pediatric, forget amalgams, composite, everything. So sealants, you take this technology you acid etch enamel, and you put resin on enamel or dentin, and you bond a dentin. So then they take these pits and fissures that are just filled with plaque, shit, debris, Oreos, Doritos, and they pour acid on the top of this.
Yeah.
And then they rinse, and they put bonding agent on just pits and fissures filled with shit. And then in 1 year, every research article published on the planet says at least 40% are failed.
Yeah.
And then in 2 years, at least 80%, and none of them have ever lasted 3. But what's even more insidious is that we fight this gram-negative anaerobe that can't live in oxygen.
Yeah.
So when you put this partial sealing over the top of the tooth, and then it gets a leakage, and the bugs get under, and you're inhibiting all this air, the decay mushrooms.
Yes.
And you're in there with the number 2 or 3 runner. And then the sealant, you're only getting paid like $25, $27, $28 for a sealant. But my homies that have a hard tissue laser, they take that kid without a shot. And they clean out that pit and fissure.
Yes.
So now you don't have pits and fissures filled with crud, debris, plaque, decay, bacteria. Now they're acid etching dentin and enamel. They're putting sealant and HEMA and resin on there. They're putting a complusal composite or an amalgam. And now they're billing out $150.
Yeah.
So if the lease payment was $1,000 a month, and you upgraded a sealant to an occlusal composite, which in this town is $250.
Yeah.
And then the kid, do you want to do it and have it all fail in 2 years, or have 95% of them still working at 5 years?
Yeah.
It's kind of a no-brainer.
It really is.
I mean, it is really a no-brainer.
Yeah. But,
So do you do brain transplants? When a dentist says to you, I don't understand, I still do sealants. When a dentist tells me he still does sealants, I say, maybe you should just turn in your license and go home. I mean, at some point, you just got to say, I don't know how I graduated, and maybe I really shouldn't be a doctor.
Well, you can get away with telling them that.
But, I mean, sealants are dead. They're dead.
Agreed.
And there's 5,000 pediatric dentists, and if I was you, I'd go after the pediatric dentist. I think we should put on a hard tissue laser class. Dental Town should, at the casino, at Talking Sticks, and lead it with the pediatric dentist,
Yeah, it's
because
perfect.
if I wanted to touch this profession and leave it better, one of the first places I'd go after is, can we just get the 5,000 pediatric
Yeah,
dentists to quit
for
doing
sure.
sealants? And they're also the standard of care. I mean, when people go to the board and you got some stupid ass old pediatrician, oh, I still do sealants. You're like, oh my God, really? Really?
Really, the
what
hard
do you think
tissue-
about doing that? What do you think about coming out to Phoenix?
Look, I've always said it, hard tissue laser for pediatric dentists is a no-brainer. First of all, you don't have to get them numb, which means, these kids come in, they got cavities all over. Why in the heck would you get one side numb, do them, send them home, put mom and dad through the headache to bring them back 2 weeks later? Hard tissue laser, all 4 quadrants, done. Little Joey, little Sally, they're not getting a shot. They're super quick because the enamel's not real thick on kids, as we know. It's a perfect place for a hard tissue laser. I will tell you, I don't like overselling product. I'm like you. I say the way it is. Occlusal preps on adults, all these hard tissue lasers are slow. If you got a busy practice, stay away from it. You're still going to have your high-speed drill, but it's the class 3s, class 5s, incisal edges, bone, and the soft tissue I love it for, but I don't want to oversell the technology. I think that's a mistake that's been done by other companies. We don't oversell. We like to set the expectations here and deliver here. Everybody's happy.
A good businessman always under promises and over develops,
Yeah.
and you've been a good businessman since the very beginning. But I just think, like I say, I think that. Well, look at how the dentists all get together and hallucinate stuff. Like now, all the talk is that everybody wants the same day crown. And I've been a dentist for 30 years, and it's kind of funny because when a patient breaks their teeth for 30 years, all I've ever heard was, well, how much does it cost? Well, my insurance, can you finance that? Will I get approved by Care Credit? And all they talk about is how much is it going to cost. That's half the questions.
Yeah.
And then they go into, well, am I going to get a shot? Is it going to hurt? And can you put me to sleep? Do I need nitrous oxide? This is a game changer,
Yeah.
where you're not having to give a shot. And you know what? In 30 years, you know how many people have asked me, well, can you do it in the same day? Like two. Like two.
Yeah.
It's like every decade and a half. I hear this question. but the dentist, it's like that's all they hear. Everybody wants the same day crown. And what I say is that you want to have a game changer in dentistry. Make it affordable.
Agreed.
That's all you've always done. Make it available. Be open when the others ain't. Have your office where the others ain't. Be where they ain't. Don't graduate from dental school and go in downtown L.A. Drive an hour from L.A. and go out where there's nobody there. It's like in downtown Atlanta, above the Galleria, there's more specialists than you could even count. But you drive an hour from Atlanta in any direction.
It's empty.
And there's towns of 4,000 that don't have a single specialist.
Look, Howard, you need to, I love dentistry. 30 years working with you guys, your family. I know you get the same questions and the same concerns that I do with dentistry. If I were to ask any dentist, we'll pull one off the street here, walking down the aisles, what is your exit strategy? And they just look at me like, what are you asking me? I don't speak French. Exit strategy, what the heck are you talking about? And dentistry has changed, you know this. You can't operate your practice and expect to sell it for $1 bazillion and retire anymore. So the exit strategy from dentists has got to change. They have to get educated more on balance sheets and buying assets and not having liabilities, and don't buy products that are liabilities. It's crazy. Invest in anything that's going to make you money. Stay away from the liabilities. And then your exit strategy should be the extra money you're making, invest it and diversify, right? Get outside of dentistry, get into commercial real estate, invest in stocks, do something different, but there's no end of the light for these guys. And I'm going to go, how can you operate thinking you're going to be 90 years old and still doing dentistry without a game plan? You got to have an exit strategy. And I think, technologies are great, but they've got to be assets. I just had somebody over at the booth. He said, I really want to get one. I'm brand new. I'm just opening a practice. I said, you got to be kidding me. You're already in debt. You're still trying to figure things out. Look at things as assets and liabilities. I said, I'm not going to sell you hard tissue. You don't need to spend $50,000 right this second. Get a Picasso, it's $3,000. And he said, you're not going to sell it to me. I said, no, I want you to walk before you run. Because it's not for everybody. You know this, but the bottom line is, you are a godsend for dentistry. You help people. You need to give a business class to really every dentist out there, because I think they really could use your guidance, your expertise on how to operate a business. Even though it's a practice and they love practicing dentistry, that's great. Take care of your patients, but man, there's got to be an exit strategy at some point, right?
So you make this stuff affordable, and you've been very good at this, squeezing the cost out of soft tissue lasers, now hard tissue lasers. You got to be available. You got to be open before 8, after 5, but you got to have a pain-free shot. We had a 60-year-old dentist, Ryan, that walked by the other day. He's just retiring. I said, "You're 65. Come tell the kids. What is your advice?" He said, "You got to get down a pain-free shot. Dentistry is about hurting people." What excites me about lasers, though, what do lasers and tattoos have in common? I've always noticed.
Well, you get the tattoo first, and you got to get it off when you're about our age with a laser.
Anybody that ever gets a tattoo, you come back in 5 years, they got another one. And every one of my friends who had got a laser, 5 years later, they got another one.
No,
and then they got another one. And they got another one. We had that guy on the other day. Him and his wife, for example, they bought a laser. We did a podcast with them, and to stop them arguing with each other, they had to buy another laser because they were starting a marriage fight over stealing the lasers. So now they have his and hers lasers. And I think a big part of dentistry, I think the biggest part is affordability. That's all I hear from the patients. Next is availability. They're not open or whatever. But how does this contribute to more pain-free dentistry? How does this contribute to less shots?
Well, the reality is a hard tissue laser, because it's a laser interacting with water, in almost most cases, you don't have to give a shot. It's truly amazing.
And then how long is the average shot time? I mean, when a dentist gives average shot, how long do they let it soak in? What do you think?
A couple minutes. Well, probably 5 minutes, because they're down in the other operatory doing a check and screwing around, checking their Facebook.
Yeah, so if a laser is slower, but you don't have to wait for the anesthetic to soak on. I mean, if the average dentist is numbing up with Septicaine and setting a timer for 4, or lidocaine and setting a timer for 8, that's 8 minutes. You could just be sitting there working on the tooth.
Yeah. Turn it on, get going.
So who would be your most... So look out there. There's thousands of people. Who do you think is the best fit? Who's the best target tomorrow? Describe the red flag scenario that you think this would be the best match for at $1,000 a month for 60 months.
Yeah, definitely pediatric dentists. It's a no-brainer. If you don't have one, they should. Why wouldn't you? It's a no-brainer.
But why a pediatric dentist?
Because they're going to be doing multiple quadrant dentistry without giving shots. They're going to have to reschedule patients. They have to turn over the chair. And you know what? It's just better dentistry. You get away from the sealants. You got a better etching, and you got a decontamination factor with the laser. It's a no-brainer.
So who's your number one product champion pediatric dentist?
Well, we just launched this thing yesterday, so who do you suggest?
Josh Wren.
Josh Wren.
Josh Wren. How about we do this? How about we'll do a challenge? We'll get Josh Wren to come to Phoenix. Dental Town will put on the course. Well, you'll work with him to see if he can do that, and maybe he recommends someone else. But I like Josh Wren.
Okay.
He's a good old boy in Mississippi, and that's a boy. I mean, he's this is the coolest guy now in pediatric dentistry.
Cool.
And you would love him. I think you should get Josh Wren to come to Phoenix, and we should focus this thing on pediatric dentists. And then the lecture we should film, so whoever doesn't want to come see it in person, live, or whatever, then we could just put the course on Dental Town.
That's a great start, but I'll tell you, if you're a GP and you're doing implants or a little bit of ortho, these lasers rock.
Okay, tell us why about that. What does the laser have to do with implants and ortho?
Well, the cool thing is, for implants, it's safe around metals, so you can uncover the implant. But if you're dealing with peri-implantitis, these things are awesome. Cut through bone, remove granulation tissue. It's absolutely phenomenal. You're not dealing with heat.
Can I ask you an uncomfortable question? This is Dentistry Uncensored, and I'm known for asking the politically incorrect uncensored deal. So there are lasers out there like Lanap, and they say, this, if you put this laser in the periodontal pocket, it's going to kill bugs. And a lot of doctors at dental surgery have 8 years of college. You took microbiology, say, yeah, but wouldn't other lasers also do that? do they have the only laser that kills bugs?
No,
I mean,
of course not.
yeah. That sounds like obvious. So the problem we have in implants is that if you lost all your teeth from Streptococcus mutans, cavities, and then they put implants in the lower anterior on bone, and then all the manufacturers telling us that we have a 98% 5-year success rate, but they cherry pick the data. They don't pick the patients that lost all their teeth from periodontal disease, P. gingivalis, and implants placed in the maxilla. Now the success rate might swing 10, 20, 30% the other way.
Agreed.
So if someone lost teeth from periodontal disease and they got peri-implantitis, you're saying this light touch erbium YAG laser would help
fantastic.
with that?
And I'll also tell you, a Picasso for $3,000 will help with that. Now, you can't cut through bone, but a diode is fantastic at removing granulation tissue and decontaminating the implant and the site. In fact, Gregory Kurtzman, who I think you know, just put out 2 fantastic articles all about Picasso lasers being used for peri-implantitis treatment. Can
you tell him, I want to do an hour podcast with him just on that alone. Can you line that up?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me give you my card. I'm Howard at dentaltown.com.
Really?
I am.
I don't know how to get a hold of you.
I am. But no, I want you to write a note to yourself to remember, because that would be an awesome podcast. Because, peri-implantitis is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
It's huge.
Because dentists in the early day weren't differentiating between, she lost all of her teeth because she had a ton of cavities that turned into root canals. She didn't have the money, and then you did implants on her, and they were perfect. Yeah. And they got confused with a lady who lost it all from gum disease, and then they put all these implants in, and it's an issue. And you're saying a $3,000 diode laser
they work great.
Is good for peri-implantitis.
It's great. It's
and
fantastic.
Gregory Kurtzman is a friend of both of ours for decades, and he wrote 2 papers on this.
Yes, recently, and there's lots coming around from around the world.
Yeah.
And
anybody you got on this, any of your product champions, I want to talk to him on the show. You said ortho.
Ortho, fantastic. Look, anytime you're moving teeth, what are you also moving? Tissue, right? So even though it's a hard tissue laser, it's fantastic at removing soft tissue. So uncovering teeth, operculectomies, frenectomies, you got a diastema, you have to get rid of that tissue, period. It's also a great etching device. So lots of little things, aptus ulcer treatment. So guys doing ortho, you get canker sores all over the place. Erbium lasers, perfect for treating those. Desensitizing teeth, also perfect with the erbiums. They work really well. You're going to find it's just not a one-trick pony. You may be reaching for the erbium or the light touch throughout the day. So if you're a GP that's doing a little bit of ortho, maybe you're not placing implants, but you're uncovering implants, and you're doing cavity preps. You're seeing some kids. This is kind of like a Swiss Army knife for your practice. So you may not use it 100% of the time, but you may use it for different types of applications. That's what I really like about this product.
So you did it again. When you came out, the soft tissue lasers are $12,000, and you debuted at what was it, 35?
Yeah.
3,500, and now you're saying hard tissues are about 100.
They really start around 80 and go up to about 115,000.
So they're 80 to 115,000.
Yeah.
That's what I see even here at this deal. And leave it to my main homie to debut at 50. So if someone's listening to you and they want to get either of these 2 lasers, where would they go?
Easy, AMDLASERS.com.
AMD Laser. And AMD stands for Alan Miller.
Design.
Alan Miller,
Design.
Alan Miller Design, lasers.com. Yeah. And my girl Cammie wants to know if it will remove her gang member tattoos. It's teardrops. They're filled in solid. I don't know what that means.
Poor thing.
I don't know what that means. Ryan says that means
it worked
there's
on
dead
hair.
people.
They work pretty well on hair, so.
I think those filled in teardrops, I think she actually killed someone. I'm not sure. But hey, Alan, give me great
I will, absolutely.
If you want to do a Target deal, I think we should do that.
You guys know I support the Townie meeting.
No, I'm not talking about the Townie meeting. I'm talking about just in Phoenix. So Phoenix,
Okay.
There's 3,800 dentists in that metro.
Okay.
And there's an Indian reservation right by our dental office called Talking Sticks Casino. So we've been putting courses on there.
Oh, really? I didn't know
And
that.
they've been doing really good. So, yeah, county meeting is an annual meeting.
Yeah, right.
But
right.
we like to do monthly meetings
I'm sorry,
at the Indian reservation.
You know I'd love to come out.
Yeah, and we could just drink all night at the Indian reservation. That sounds fun.
You know, you and I could do that.
But hey, thank you
Thank you,
seriously
Howard.
for making dentistry affordable. Thanks for using your brain to drive down costs so that Americans have the freedom to afford to save their teeth.
I appreciate that. And thank you for everything you do, my friend.
All right, buddy.
Thank you.